Hello and welcome to Sharat Chandra IAS Academy, where your dreams are our mission. This is Yatharth here. This is part 2 of the lecture from our Places in New series. So, in the last lecture, we had talked about various different places. First of all, we talked about the Botswana and then moved on to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So, those who have not watched that lecture, please do watch. We'll just revise it very quickly. The PDF is with me here. Alright, so we saw about the Botswana. Here, its location, the neighboring countries, the Zambia, Zimbabwe, Namibia, South Africa, and so on. Further, we moved to the geographical markers, the Kalahari Desert, the Okavango Delta, the Salt Pans, the Limpopo River, and then the Shobe River in the north. Alright, so all of these we have seen. Further, we read about the important points here and then saw the Kalahari Desert falling majorly in the Botswana. We saw the Limpopo River's course. It goes like an arc first to the north and then to the west. All right, we saw the Shobe River as well again here in the north of the Botswana, making a geographical boundary between the Namibia and the Botswana. We saw what is the issue right now between the Germany as well as Botswana. We talked about the neighboring countries to the Germany. We saw what is the issue with the elephant population and the wildlife human conflict in the Botswana. Came to the Andaman and Nicobar, where we saw the Chinese incursion in the Coco Islands and the strategic development that the Andaman and Nicobar is going through. Saw the important points about the Andaman and Nicobar, where the two most important points we saw are that Andaman and Nicobar are part of a submerged mountain range, the Arakan Yoma. And second thing, Andaman is mostly volcanic in origin, while the Nicobar Island are primarily coral based. So this is very good information for prelims. All right, we saw why is this in news because of the military infrastructure upgrades that the Andaman and Nicobar is going through. We saw about the Coco Islands again, their location and so on. So this is why this series is very important for the prelims especially. All right, there are so many places we just ignore and do not know about unless they come in the news. Okay, so I'll be covering all of them for you. We saw how close they are to the Andaman and Nicobar, the Coco Islands. Okay, we saw different things also, the Strait of Malacca especially here. We saw the national parks falling onto the Andaman and Nicobar, especially this Campbell Bay and the Galathea Bay. They are very important, as well as this Rani Jhansi Marine National Park. Okay, now let's quickly move to the Eurasia. So what we see here, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov shaking hands with the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. So what are they thinking? What are they deciding now? So what we see here is Russia and China. Both have agreed to discuss ways to deepen security cooperation. They want the security cooperation. Because Russia especially is in war with Ukraine and it's facing a foremost resistance from the NATO forces. So it's basically a West versus East thing. What we see here is Russia and China cooperating towards a security alliance. Okay, and Russia and China declared a no limits partnership in February 2022. So their ties go back even before the Ukraine thing started. And what else we see that Russia China trade hit a record of $240 billion in 2023. All right, that is $240 billion USD in 2023, and that was 26.3% uptick from a year earlier. So that means the ties, especially the economic ties, have gone deeper and deeper. We saw that Chinese shipment to Russia jumped 46.9% in 23, 46.9% in 23, while imports from Russia rose to 13%. So what we are seeing here that because of this Russia-Ukraine war especially, the West is pulling hands and making threats, both economic as well as security threats towards the Russia. And Russia is deepening ties with the China. Now China is increasing influence. Now what we see here, just let me clear this. Okay, this, the Western one, is one group. We can call it NATO. We'll see it later. Okay, and in the right side, we see that Russia, it's making an alliance with the China here. And China is increasing its influence in these countries, whether it's Nepal, Bhutan side, Myanmar side. Here we saw the Coco Islands. All right, whether it is Sri Lanka, and this side also, Maldives. All right, so China is influencing this Taiwan side also, and Spratly and Paracel Island this side also. Okay, so it's behaving like an octopus with multiple arms to encompass this whole region. Okay, it has OBOR project, multiple projects in the Central Asia. All right, in the African subcontinent here, it has multiple projects regarding the mining, infrastructure development, and so on. All right, so this is a threat, we can say, to the multipolar world. All right, now let's go further. So, what is this NATO as they are talking about? First of all, we should consider two more facts that Russia has become China's top crude supplier. So, what is Russia supplying to China? Crude oil. Okay, despite any sanctions, Western sanctions, and China and USA trade. What is the ties between the China and USA now? So, China and USA trade fell 11.6% last year. Okay, so there is a continuous fall between the China and USA and the Russia and USA trade. All right, and uptick in the China and Russia, sorry, Russia and China trade. All right, so this is one aspect. Now let's come to the NATO that they are talking about. So NATO is an alliance, a security alliance. You can see this map here. It mostly this excludes the United States and Canada, both founding member of NATO. This is not shown here. All right, but it mostly encompasses these countries, the Western Europe. All right, as well as the USA and Canada. So let's read some facts about the NATO. So it was founded in 1949 after the World War II by the signing of which treaty? The North Atlantic Treaty. Okay. The headquarters are in Brussels, Belgium. The next thing we see is the theory of the collective defense. The core principle of NATO is collective defense. All right, so this can come as a statement that what is the core principle of the NATO? So this means that an attack on one member state is considered an attack on all members. And this principle has been invoked only once during the 9/11 terrorist attack on the United States when it started the war on terror. All right. The membership originally formed by 12 countries, in which the US and Canada were the founding members. All right, NATO has grown to include 32 member states across Northern America and Europe. Along with this, the officials in the Russia and China also mentioned OSCE. So, what is this OSCE? It is Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Now, what we see is that this encompasses Russia as well. Okay, Russia is also included in this. So, why Russia and China is not? Okay, so why Russia is talking about this? It's saying that this security organization is failing, which is very clear because Russia is in real life going against all these countries, okay, taking their territory and also against the West. There are economic sanctions, there are military threats. So, of course, this organization is failing, but still, let's talk about it. So, OSCE was established in 1975, so way after the NATO, way after NATO. And you must remember the full name Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. So, there is right now no real cooperation in Europe except the original European countries. So what we see, it was with the signing of the Helsinki Final Act. Okay, these name is rather peculiar, so you must remember it. The Helsinki Final Act by 35 countries from Europe and North America, along with the Soviet Union. All right, so that time Soviet Union existed until 1991. The headquarters are in Vienna, Austria. All right, and what is the core principle of this? The OSCE focuses on broad concept of security that goes beyond just military threats. Okay, NATO is mostly about the military threats. The core principle of NATO is the collective defense. So here we are not looking exclusively at collective defense. We are looking at collective defense, not exclusively. Okay, here we are looking political, economic, environmental, and human right dimensions as well. So this is why it differs from the NATO. And currently it has more members than NATO, 57 member states, including all European countries except Belarus, Kosovo, and some non-recognized entities, along with the United States, Canada, and the countries of Central Asia. All right. So now let's come to the Red Sea. Both things are important. It's mapping as well as why it is into the news. So let's first see the location. So Red Sea basically starts from here, this side. All right, these both are excluded. The Gulf of Aqaba and the Gulf of Suez. Both of these are excluded. That is why there are two very small cities here. One is the Iliad from the Israel. It is a port city, and one is the Aqaba in the Jordan. So on the name of this Aqaba only, we see the Gulf of Aqaba. Okay, so these both have boundaries here, of course, with the Gulf of Aqaba and the Strait of Tehran, but not with the Red Sea because Red Sea is considered started from here. So which countries are making a boundary with the Red Sea? First is the Saudi Arabia, second is the Yemen, third is the Djibouti. These are in Africa now, all right. Fourth is Eritrea, fifth is Sudan, and sixth is Egypt. All right, here we see the Gulf of Suez, and furthermore, we see the Suez Canal going towards the Mediterranean Sea from the Red Sea. Okay, now let's come to this side. We see the Persian Gulf. Okay, here we see multiple countries: Iran, Kuwait, Iraq, upper side, then UAE, Qatar, Bahrain. All right, so these are all the Persian Gulf and the Middle East, what we know as. This is the Strait of Hormuz. This is the Strait of Hormuz, and this is the Gulf of Oman. Coming to this side, it is known as the Gulf of Aden or Aden. All right. In Hindi, it is known as the Aden. Okay. And this territory, the Socotra, belongs to the Yemen. Okay. Now there is a civil war going on in the Yemen civil war, and there are Houthi rebels or Houthi rebels, which are backed by the Iran. Okay. And now they are attacking the port city in the Israel. Okay, here, the Iliad port city. So this is why it's into the news. Let's see about this. So Israel shoots down a drone from Red Sea with a Sea Dome missile for the first time. Iliad in Israel has been a frequent target for launches by Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen as a show of support for Hamas, the Palestinian group that rules Gaza and is also backed by the Iran. So it is because of the Israel-Gaza war. Okay, what you also should read about is the economy of terrorism. Okay, the terrorism economy. Some countries are very vested in their this economy. Their interest lie in this that the terrorism should keep spreading. So there has to be a weapon economy. There has to be a recruitment economy. All right. So this you can read about. This is a topic. Now let's see Yemen here. All right. So how much is controlled by the Houthi territory? So this, especially the Sada part, is the Houthi territory. All right. And this is Al Qaeda operating area. This is the Al Qaeda operating area. So almost 50 to 60% of the Yemen is now in control of the terrorists. And this Yemen civil war was because of this uprising. All right. Okay. Let's see further. What we see, we saw the Kalahari Desert in the Africa. We saw the Kalahari Desert in the Africa when we talked about it between the countries of Botswana, Zambia, and the South Africa. Okay, now when we are looking at this, we see the Negev Desert. Okay, where we see this in the country of Israel. Okay, and this is the Elad, which we talked about in the news. This is the Jordan and Aqaba. Okay, this is the Gulf of Aqaba and the Strait of Tehran, so on. So we have read all about this, the Red Sea, Persian Gulf, and Israel. Now we see the Negev Desert. Okay, let's now come to the next topic, which is Arctic. So why Arctic is in news, first of all? Because global temperatures are rising. All right, because there is a climate change, first of all. And these polar regions are the regions which bear the most of the burnt. All right, so temperature in the Arctic region are rising even faster. Arctic is warming nearly 4 times faster than the rest of the world. How much time faster? 4 times faster than rest of the world. So it's being affected by the climate change at this much rate, 400 times rate. All right, 4 times faster, sorry, 400% rate. And the consequence go beyond just the Arctic. The melting permafrost. What are the most issues? Permafrost. So what is this permafrost? Permafrost is the sort of frost which is permanently in the ice state. All right, so this is melting. Recently, we talked about the GLOF. All right, in the Himalayan region. So this permafrost also relates to that only. Okay, sort of that issue. Now we also see the rising sea levels because the Arctic ice is melting, the permafrost is melting, and we see the resulting sea level increment. All right. Now this has disastrous effect on the local ecosystems as well as the climate. And we already talked about the climate. In the last lecture, we talked about the Supreme Court's comment on the right against adverse effect of climate change. All right. So these all are connected to each other, whatever we are reading. Now, what we see, first of all, let us see and talk about the Arctic region. So this is the Arctic Circle. It comprises Russia. Okay, this is Russia. And we are seeing the globe from the upper side. Okay, Finland, Sweden, Norway. Then there is Greenland and Denmark, Canada, Alaska from the USA. Okay, so this is known as the Arctic Circle. And this is the North Pole of the Earth. All right. So what we see here further is in the Arctic, India has one permanent research station called Himadri. So this is important point. So I have included it here. Okay, and the location of the Himadri station is situated in Spitsbergen Island, Svalbard in Norway. It's part of the International Arctic Research Base in Nysund, and it was established in July 2008. Himadri was India's second Arctic expedition. All right. So you have seen about the Arctic. Now what we are talking about is Interact. So what is this Interact and why is it in news? Why Arctic is in news? So what we see that Interact is affected by the Russia-Ukraine war. Okay, because scientists are not able to collect data from Russia or go to the Russia. Now let us see what is Interact first. Okay, it is international network for terrestrial research and monitoring in the Arctic. We are talking about the terrestrial research, that means ground research. Okay, so because Russia is in war state now, it's not sending data. Data is not coming. And the scientists are unable to go to Russia to monitor this data. So this is why Interact is being affected. So infrastructure project that facilitate research and monitoring activities in the Arctic and surrounding regions. And it was established under the auspices of the SKANET. So SKANET was, we'll see what SKANET is also. It is Svalbard Center for Advanced Technology, an existing network for Arctic research station. All right. So now what is the issue with Interact? That these sites are located in warmer and wetter parts of Arctic, which is, let's say, Russia. And they are regions of the less biomass and soil carbon. Okay, so this creates a bias because we are only able to access 60 to 70% of the data. This missing 30% of the data which was supposed to come from Russia is missing, and this creates a bias in our study of the data about Arctic. All right, which is very, very important for the Earth. So what we can see here, what we can completely see here is that global warfare, how global warfare affects the climate change. Okay, this establishes a link. You have one data here that the Interact infrastructure is being affected by the Russia-Ukraine war, and it is hindering our capability to read the Arctic or read about the Arctic. Okay, so this was about the Arctic. We can see here completely this the map is not very important. Why is it in news is very important. All right, so we can quickly recap. This is the Negev Desert in Israel, which we talked about, the Red Sea. Let's come back to the Red Sea again. Okay, remember the countries which are bordering the Red Sea, that's current location. Let's go a little bit up also. We talked about the OSCE and NATO. Please remember they're establishing year and the countries they're part of. Furthermore, we saw the Eurasia and the China's increasing influence in the Eurasia. All right, we can go back to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands where we have revised many times, the Barren Island and so on. Okay, Coco Island we have seen already, the Aves Island and so on. We can come back to the Botswana where again and again we have seen everything and remember everything now. Okay, the Namibia, Zimbabwe, and each country we remember. Okay, the Zambia, the Namibia, Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and so on. Okay, please remember the Kalahari Desert here, which goes from the Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa. Mostly it is in the Botswana. Okay, and the Negev Desert is in Israel. So this is the end of the lecture from my side. We'll be covering more locations in the next lecture. So for this, thank you very much. This is Yatharth here signing off. Have a great day. See you again.